The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Earnestly Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Ernest, EJ Christian, coming to you on a late Thursday night here in South Florida. It's kind of chilly, actually. I like it. On the line, of course, friend of the pod, my buddy, Marc Francois, out in California, LA, to be exact. Marc, what's up, buddy?
It's fantastic, man. All is good. Life is well.
Well, it's the holidays, man.
Had a nice holiday. How was Thanksgiving for you?
It's quiet. It's actually really, really quiet.
That's a great way to be, though.
You know what's funny? Because it's funny. This is where you know, okay, with my family, my wife and I, how the differences in our background is. So, you know, while my parents aren't got married, I got a big family anyway. So I'm used to having big Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you go into some auntie's house and there's 30 people there, or having 30 people at your place.
Yeah. And my wife's
and
family
there's
is small.
everything on the table, from like green bean casserole to dirty rice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You have see, my Thanksgiving was a lot cooler in my opinion because my family's from the Caribbean. It's not just the typical Thanksgiving food. It's also, you know, curry chicken, you know, jerk chicken, stewed chicken, you know, more added stuff into the equation. And I always joke around, Mark, that, you know, I'm not a racist except during the holidays. Cause I prefer my people's food and my people's environment over anything else's.
Well, you know, I think that's just a Thanksgiving thing too. Yeah. Is, you know, with very few exceptions, I don't like going to other people's houses for like Thanksgiving and shit, because it was always at my dad's house, and it was always his cooking that was sort of the nucleus of it. And my mom, my sister, and I can more or less recreate like our vision of Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And it's my favorite, and I don't want anybody else's.
There you go.
You know, it's like Ron White used to say, like, I like my dog. I don't give a shit about your dog.
God, I've heard that name in a while. Ron White. It's been a while since I heard that name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do realize now, you said Thanksgiving around the, you know, past, you know, 2019 comes to an end, which means next year is the official start of the election year. 2020 is election year.
Man. Iowa caucuses are right around the corner, and we're like 311 days or 318 days, I think, from election day as of this recording.
There's a lot going on. Your girl Kamala, she dropped out this week.
Yeah, you know, that was you know, for me, as somebody who was one of her supporters and calling her the 46th president before she ever announced her candidacy, that was kind of a gut punch. That was unfortunate, but it started looking like it was kind of inevitable. It's unfortunate, you know. There was that flurry of stories that came out over the weekend with a whole lot of leaks in her campaign office about issues with fundraising and, you know, happiness of the workforce, you know, and leave it at that. So if you know, even if a third of what was reported is true, it sucks. But away we go. But now, you know, you're looking at a primary coming up in a week or two, I think next week. That's going to be an all-white stage. So in the age of representation, when the black voters, particularly black women voters, are the most popular or the most important demographic so far, as demonstrated by like the 2018 midterms in terms of forcing change, you got to wonder if not having any people of color on the stage is going to be a problem and depress turnout.
That depends on the priority of the voter. Now, quick,
I think so too.
Right now, with Kamala, like, it's funny, like she surged pretty well in the late spring, early summer, and she felt like she had. You know, it's funny. I was just listening to Pod Save America, and they kind of broke this down too, so it's all pretty fresh in my head. She had a huge launch in Oakland with like 20,000 people, far and away the biggest announcing rally. She pivoted that into a huge donation surge that first quarter,
raising something like $12 million the first quarter of her candidacy. I mean, she really got off to a great start, then had that, super solid debate performance where she kind of punched Joe Biden in the mouth. Mm-hmm. But then, within the next kind of 3 news cycles, he punched back and she wasn't ready. It's like, if you're going to come at the king, don't miss. And so she kind of stumbled, and then, the next couple debates, it was kind of more of the same, but there was that fire wasn't really there. And she's just never really been able to turn the corner. Now, I think whomever the nominee is absolutely has to have her as a prominent member of their campaign, if not the running mate. Well, although I don't know if I love her, I don't know if I want her presiding over the Senate. I kind of like the idea of her as Attorney General.
Yeah, that's kind of the common thing we're hearing now from people about her.
Yeah, I mean, pardon me, Senator Harris, for penciling in the next 4 to 8 years of your life, but no, I mean, just at least as a voter, I think look, you and I have texted about this at length, and the thing I've said repeatedly is, if every single one of those people on, kind of remaining, Michael Bloomberg and Tom Steyer too, even, if they were, the leading Democrats in kind of holding all the key positions in some form or the other, cabinet secretaries, congressional leadership positions, political appointees, what have you, if that was sort of the starting lineup of our administration, I'd be very pleased with what I'm looking at. So in no particular order, I really don't give a shit as long as all those people on the stage are the ones calling the shots and not Trump and Stephen Miller and their band of sycophants.
I will say this much. As far as much she fell in this last few months, prior to her, obviously, you drop out of the race, I do think she can be a player in 4 years if she chooses to.
Well, absolutely. That's the thing, is maybe it's not this election. Maybe it's either 24 or 28, after she holds some other different positions. But here's the thing. Kamala is a bad lady. Like, what do you mean bad?
Explain that. Bad in the good or bad in the bad?
Oh, no, bad in the best way.
Okay.
When I look at Senator Harris, I honestly see her as like that aunt who's really cool. She's a lot of fun, but you fuck with her less than your strict auntie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
There's an auntie who holds the Iron Fist title,
mm-hmm.
but you don't fuck with Auntie K.
No.
As fun as she is, nobody plays with her.
And Mark, again, and look, we in the past we discussed this, my issues with her, and even you agreed she pandered too much, in my opinion. Especially to the urban communities.
A little bit.
She didn't seem authentic
enough. I don't think she pandered because she's from the hood. Like, that's the honest to goodness truth. Like, she grew up bust, poor, Oakland, East Bay, segregated against, coming from, an interracial family. I mean, all of her quote unquote bullshit street cred is legitimate. Mm-hmm. Where I think, criticisms could be made is the fervor and enthusiasm with which she embraced the San Francisco socialite culture. I would venture to get, not being from the Bay myself, but being a Californian, I know enough tangentially to be able to suggest that, if you're from the East Bay and you're running across the Bay Bridge to hang out with like Gavin Newsom and Kimberly Guilfoyle and all the movers and shakers on the other side of the bridge, that ruffles feathers at home. And then she did it by becoming a prosecutor. So good, bad, or indifferent, regardless of what she tried to do to fight the systemic injustices and systemic racism that are inherent in the justice system, the cash bail system, mass incarceration, all that. The more you dig into her history, it looks as though, she's always been fighting and pushing to the extent that she could. But to that extent, she's also been a poor messenger of that, and she's kind of painted as a cop.
Right. Is it also too legit to say that because of the Democratic Party being right now kind of going through a metamorphosis right now, split in some ways, that, she wasn't, quote, progressive enough, that she's more of a centrist, more of a moderate, to less the liking of a Sanders or Warren?
I think it's a dangerous election cycle to be a centrist to an extent, at least as long as Joe Biden's in the race. Because he's gonna go. I mean, when he's got a double-digit lead and a carved-out position as a moderate and a bipartisan legislative record, there's really not a whole lot of land for you left to carve out. So it's either get on the fucking progressive train or move out of the way and become an endorser.
But isn't that kind of the problem, that if you are that far to the left, when you get to the general election, that, to me, that's my opinion here. I think last time we spoke on the podcast, we discussed that. I said part of my problem was that if you're too far to the left, going to the general, you might lose those moderates in the middle that don't want to vote for Trump, but also don't want their taxes going up either. And Trump is saying one thing, and I'm promising that taxes, all that. That's not fair.
That is something I think that Elizabeth Warren answers the question really poorly, and I'd like to see her answer this question a whole lot better. She doesn't like to say yes when asking if her tax plan is going to raise, or her healthcare plans are going to raise the taxes of the middle class. And it's like, the answer is yes. It abso-fucking-lutely will. Your annual percentage of income that you pay out of your income tax is going to go up. That is a fact. However,
Bernie will say it.
Yeah, Bernie, well, he tiptoes around it too, but at least, I'd say he plays in the shallow end, but he won't jump off the diving board yet. You know what I'm saying? And the answer is yes. Your tax rate is going to go up. That is a thing that is not in dispute. It absolutely has to happen because the program has to pay for itself. But, and this is if you're Elizabeth Warren, your insurance premiums go away, or your inability to sign up for insurance because of the overwhelming cost, making it impossible for you to buy groceries or pay your utilities, whatever. Those are eliminated and transferred to your tax rate, which, when you boil it all down, is ultimately going to be fewer dollars. Let's say you're spending $5,000 a year on healthcare. I'm just totally picking an arbitrary number to illustrate the discount. You're going to spend $2,000 a year under Elizabeth Warren's plan. However, instead of swiping your debit card at the doctor, you're just going to get a little more money taken out of your check every week. So yes, your taxes are going to go up, but you're not going to have the expense of health insurance and healthcare costs. So it's a trade-off that, according to all economic indicators, are in the favor of the working people. And that is a message that AOC, Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, and anyone who hangs out on the far left wing of the party or the conversation, because Bernie's technically independent, anyone who hangs out on the far left side of the pool has yet done a terrible job of illustrating. And to me, in a lot of ways, that's what cost them the election in 2016. Bernie sucked at that, and so did Hillary.
Well, and I think they also took Trump for granted. I mean, let's just be real. They thought there was no way this guy's going to win the election, and then he did.
Well, look, here's the thing here's something that we have to realize, too. When we talk about polling, when we talk about the electorate, when we listen to Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz rail on about how this process neglects half the country, no, it fucking doesn't. Okay?
Okay.
No, it fucking doesn't. Because among registered voters, 29% are Republican. This is current data. You can Google it. You can fact check me. I did my research before I came on your show.
Okay.
But it's 29% Republican, 31% Democrat, 38% independent or non-party affiliated, and 2% Jill Stein and everybody else.
I'm an MPA. I'm in 30%. So
yeah, so you fall into the middle. So
right.
when we hear that Trump has a 95% approval rating among Republicans, or 63 million Americans put Donald Trump in the White House, yeah, and 65 million Americans stayed fucking home. So,
but Mark, here's my problem. Like, and I'm glad you read those numbers out. Those numbers are accurate. I've seen those numbers before.
No, at 65 million staying home may not be accurate, but I do know that 42% of the registered electorate did not vote.
Right.
In the
you're right there. I'm talking about the number about the MPA's independence. There was it 38%. You said.
Yeah, no. My percentages are correct. It's 29, 31, 38.
No, you're correct on that. And my fear is that a good portion of those, that 30% bubble, is going to lean to Trump.
That depends on messaging, I think. And that kind of takes us to a really interesting ad that came out over the weekend in the wake of Trump's NATO temper tantrum. And it's where I'll actually, as much as I don't support his campaign, never thought he should have been in it in the first place, Joe Biden did something fucking brilliant over the weekend. Did you happen to catch the ad?
No, but you mentioned
that he ran.
No, but you mentioned earlier on text.
Okay, YouTube it, add it in post. 1, 2, 3, quiet. Okay, you can add that in later. Anyway, no. But he ran an ad in literally yesterday. Excuse me, so not over the weekend. It was yesterday, Wednesday. When the news surfaced of various world leaders laughing about Trump and making fun of him, ultimately leading to his departure from the NATO summit, Joe Biden ran a brilliant ad about how the world is laughing at us. And it was a tough shot to take. It was a very fine line to walk. It was going to either look really petty and stupid or brilliant. And I think he came out of it looking brilliant.
Okay.
And so that's where I talk about, like, it's really a question of, when you're talking about the independents, making the argument that the world is laughing at us and that we are objectively unsafe or less safe based upon his foreign policy decisions is not only a smart argument, but it's the truth. We're less safe. Our Asian allies like Japan and South Korea are looking to China, Russia, and one another to defend them against North Korea because we are proving unreliable. Our European allies are looking to potentially Russia. We've abandoned our best ally in the Middle East, while our other most significant ally, Israel, remains in disarray. So I think that's a really legitimate argument to make. And John Favreau talked about this on the Pod Save America that dropped last night, that when he was doing a focus group, a guy who was a non-college educated white voter from a Milwaukee suburb was telling him that, the fact that we're an embarrassment on the international stage and our allied relationships are dramatically damaged since his inauguration concerns him greatly.
I gotta see that ad. I gotta see the ad because Biden is still on the downswing now in terms of the polling.
Technically, but I think with Harris dropping out, none of it really means shit until you get to South Carolina. Let's be honest.
That's in March.
Until we get through Nevada and South Carolina, none of it means anything. Barack Obama won Iowa. No one thought it was possible, but didn't he lose New Hampshire?
I think he did.
Who fucking cares? Until we get up to Super Tuesday, we're not going to have an even reasonable idea really who the front runners are beyond the obvious three in Biden, Warren, Sanders. And who's the fourth going to be? Who's the disruptor going to be? Is it going to be Mayor Pete? Is Cory Booker going to get a surge from the young black community. Although Bernie does really well in the young black community, because he's put the work in with Killer Mike and others. It was a huge weak spot for him, and part of the reason he got his ass whooped on Super Tuesday last election.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Well, Mark, I'm glad you said that because I did the fourth. Because your boy, Michael Bloomberg, entered the race last week, which caused a lot of stir around the country, and in my family, too.
To me, that's a fucking distraction, a political redundancy as far as messaging, and a gross illustration of how fucked up our campaign finance system is.
I mean, on one hand, if you're allowed to do it, you're allowed to do it. But on the other hand, it looks pretty bad. It's late in the game.
I think the DNC did something really smart, trying to prevent the shit show that was the Republican clown car in the last election by creating donation requirements and polling requirements and things like that. However, they kind of left the back door open with regard to the whole money thing, and just like everything else in our political system, the guy who can write the biggest check can always find a way in the door. And so enter Michael Bloomberg and Tom Steyer. I mean, they don't like Michael Bloomberg. I don't even think registers 1% on national polling.
So why is he in there?
Because his campaign, because he, like, you combine the campaign war chests of every candidate not named Tom Steyer, and Michael Bloomberg, like, has that in his couch cushions.
What if he's a Joe Biden mole?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe, what do you mean? Like a human shield to deflect all the moderate, rich old white guy shit
to stiff arm Warren, at Joe, Sanders,
just to be a punching bag so that Joe doesn't gaff himself to death.
Yeah, and all those votes.
I would hope that our national discussion has not deteriorated to that point that even the elitist Democrats are resorting to such, like, ridiculousness. But, like, I could see that totally being a thing on a TV show. Like, I could see an episode of The West Wing where, you know, Josh Lyman is running around trying to convince some guy to jump into the primary to save a pre-president Martin Sheen.
because think about it, Mark. I mean, essentially, for the most part, not everything, 100%, but Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are pretty much a wash, policy-wise. Pretty much. Yes and no. When you start really getting into it, there are some pretty dramatic differences. The other thing, too, is Warren has a much better record on some of the historical. Like, when you start pressing Bernie on, like, Bernie can't make a great gun control argument. I get it. You believe it. You've evolved on the topic. The needs of Vermont are different than the rest of the needs of the country. But you just don't sound fucking credible. Your record doesn't back it up. So that's where, like, point Elizabeth Warren. Where is he? Is he kind of like lukewarm on the gun control thing? So he's voted down some bills he's voted for, or, you know, voted against some, like, gun control measures in the past that were, like, flawed bills that were injected with pork, and some of that are really legitimate arguments, but way too wonky to ever be able to pull off on a debate stage. You know, so there's some of that. I think, I can't remember, but I remember this getting, vaguely recall somebody tossing this at him during the primary debates 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, whatever. And it was something along the lines of that he did not vote to renew the assault weapons ban or something like that. Mm-hmm.
You know, so he's got, you know, blemishes in his legislative record like that Elizabeth Warren just doesn't have.
Okay.
But she scares the shit out of the DNC establishment and, you know, Tom Perez and those people who still take money from super PACs and big companies and folks who donate to both sides.
I think overall the issue comes down to what's the bigger priority for Democrats, policy or being Donald Trump? And I think they're still torn on that.
I don't think the Democrats, at least as a caucus or a coalition, whatever, I don't think they have a good answer to that question. I think the short answer needs to be Donald Trump with an asterisk that you don't trade. You can't just put in another Trump in blue and paint it blue and then say you fixed the problem. Like, you need a legitimate solution, a legitimate policy solution. But you can't lose the fight in order to win the debate.
But is there another Trump that's wearing blue?
I don't think so.
Then
Biden kind of. Biden kind of on the old senile man thing, who's willing to throw down.
Yeah, but I don't think Joe Biden is reckless in that way like Donald Trump is.
Depends. Did you see him call the Iowa voter a damn liar when he brought up Burisma and his kid?
Well, I mean, I see Trump say worse.
No. Well, and look, personally, I like Democrats showing a little fight because they're better
because they're pussies.
They're the pussy party.
They're
the pussy party. Like, that was
been for years now. They're pussies.
Well, and that's what got, like, George Bush reelected in 2004. It's like we were in the peak of a war. It's like, who do you want fighting a war for you, John Kerry or George Bush? We're going to go with Cowboy. That may not have been accurate, but that was the perception that was created.
And it's why I voted for Bush also myself, for the record, on that election. So, yeah.
Guilty as well.
Yeah. We had a discussion a long time ago.
2004 was my first presidential election.
The last time I voted Republican in an election, actually, was that election. Actually.
Oh no, I voted for McCain and Romney.
I know you did.
And I voted to reelect Elton Gallagly numerous times.
I voted McCain in 2000 in the primaries. I was Republican at the time.
Oh, okay. See, I was only 16 in 2000.
I'm old. I was 20 in 2000.
Yeah. My first election was the 2004 election because I registered when I turned 18 in November or May of 2002. But there was that was already. I did vote in that primary. I did midterm. I voted in that midterm.
2002, 2006.
2002.
Okay. Remember John Edwards? John Edwards.
Oh man. To think now, that would be nothing. Like, the shit that drove him out of the race in 2008, that would do absolutely no harm to him today. Oh, yeah, I cheated on my wife while she was getting treated for
Get in line.
Big deal.
It's like, get in line.
What else you got?
Yeah, well, but here's a question.
I think President Trump's sexual assault allegation count is up to like 40.
Yeah. And counting.
And nobody talks about that, by the way.
Because it's so much chaos. There's so much things to talk about.
You
know how it is. Crazy problems.
Well, and that's a great segue to impeachment. Pardon me, Wally.
Well, yeah. I'll get in a second. Remember I was telling you about the Bloomberg thing on text and about how my family. So in my family,
right? Okay, yeah.
Not necessarily just my wife and obviously, but it's about my siblings and my cousins who I'm all close to. So
now, do they all live in Florida, or are they all mostly in and around New York?
All scattered. So, some's in North Carolina, some's in Connecticut, some's in Tennessee.
But would everybody more or less claim that New York is kind of the anchor of the family?
Well, most of us were
would
born.
You guys all call yourself New Yorkers?
Well, most of us were born there. So you can say to some degree, yes. But But again, we were raised in Florida, so just even though so there's really no loyalty to a person. I mean, come on.
But apart from maybe seeing the Yankees at spring training.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm a Met fan, so no. So
exactly.
So like
the Mets are in Florida too, aren't they? Are they in
Arizona? They're up the street from my house, like about 1 hour away. So listen, so check this out. So. In my family, we have a group text we do it's like a group text we've had.
Oh yeah, no, I got a family chat with Ann's family too.
It's been ongoing for like 5 or 6, 7 years now. Okay, we've had it for years. So we talk about everything just randomly. So this week this is post Bloomberg announcement he's running that there was a discussion made on there, and we got people in my family, my sister and others are pro Bloomberg. My dad's pro Bloomberg. My brother-in-law is pro Andrew Yang. Then I got one of my cousins, or two of my cousins who were not for Bloomberg. They prefer. I think there was Kamala at one point. Now that there's a Warren. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of wavering right now, but leaning
Mark,
Warren.
the point is, they're all Democrats. I'm not. I'm the only non-Democrat in the bunch because I'm an MPA. But even that little sample there of my family is torn on who to root for in the primaries. They don't want Donald Trump, we know that, but they don't know who they want in the primaries. That's why I'm telling you the Democratic Party is so fractured and so divided right now. Just my little family alone, you can see the.
Well, and I think that's where at
divide.
Some point in the near future, probably after Super Tuesday, that's where, or maybe after South Carolina, but before Super Tuesday. I think there's a little gap in there, isn't there? It's like you do Iowa, New Hampshire, and then Nevada, South Carolina, and then you have a little gap before Super Tuesday, right?
Yeah, I think about 3 weeks, I think.
I think that's where Tom Perez sits everybody down, regardless of how the first four primaries shake out. Whoever the debate stage people are at that point, he sits everybody down and he goes, look, you, and you're going on to the next round. The rest of you, I don't give a fuck who you endorse as long as it's not Trump. Do what you got to do. But you're done. Hail, fellow, well met. You had a nice run. It's over.
I don't think we'll have the same situation like 2016. I don't think we'll have the same situation where, like, a divided, the Bernie Sanders crowd stay home.
And that's not what they did. And that's not what they did in 2016. I mean, they outright suppressed Bernie's campaign.
Yeah.
That's a completely different thing. And they violated all kinds of campaign finance laws that never get talked about in setting up Hillary's early fundraising shit back in 2014. So that's a whole other thing. But no, that's where I'm saying Tom Perez needs to do different than I can't think of the other, John Podesta.
Yeah.
And just sit everybody down after South Carolina and go, look, it's the vice president, Senator Warren, Senator Sanders, and then we've got a storage room over here. There's a broomstick broken in half. Pete, you, Corey, and our mystery guest is Senator Harris. You three go fight it out. Whoever walks out of that room gets to take the fifth spot, and the rest of you go the fuck home and endorse somebody.
Yeah, I think because the worst scenario did happen in 2016, where Trump got elected, according to them.
Yeah,
that I
don't think they can take any chances, and that's not suppression. That's just being like, look, we got to focus, we got to concentrate resources, and we got to start spending meaningful time figuring out who the winner is. Not creating like morning talk show moments for Andrew Yang to take a nice swipe, one Hailmaker at Joe Biden that gets talked about for 2 segments on Morning Joe when it should have never been news in the first place. Like, clear out the clown car and let's go win a fucking election.
By the way, I'm look, I have the horse in the race because I'm not a Democrat anyways. I can't vote, but Andrew Yang's intriguing. I will say that.
I mean, yeah, it's cute and everything. Go run for Congress. Go run for Senate. Go do something. When Kamala Harris becomes the vice president or the attorney general and Senator Feinstein retires, go run for senator of California and learn some public policy shit instead of just going on a research tour because you can afford it. And then you can come back and run for president in 4 to 8 years. But stop wasting the time. Stop wasting our time because the situation is serious.
Okay.
We've got a legitimate toddler, a deteriorating toddler in the White House.
Okay, let's go there now. Impeachment, Trump, all that stuff. What's going on? What's going on? I as I told you in text, I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Okay, so let me. Okay, so to save me and or to save you and the listeners from just letting me rant, why don't you tell me what you know and what you don't know and what I can fill in for you? Because I've been watching this.
Well, I saw this morning.
I've not missed a minute of it.
I saw this morning Nancy Pelosi submitted articles of impeachment.
No, she did not.
What was that then?
She did not. She held a presser to state that after reviewing the Intelligence Committee's report and witnessing the judiciary and have hearings and then having a private meeting with the two chairmen, their respective chairmen, committee chairmen, Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler. They are moving forward with producing and writing out she said we're going to continue discussions with other investigative committees, because while those two are the ones that have been getting wall-to-wall coverage for their bombshell testimonies that have been had, and the blows that were exchanged yesterday with the constitutional law professors, those aren't the only two committees working on investigating the president. This machine started January 19th, 2018, or 2019, January 21st, 2019, whatever. The day the Democrats took over the House, they set and figured out the committee appointments. They set loose on all this stuff. So whether it's House Financial Services Committee, Government Oversight and Reform Committee, Intelligence, Judiciary, there's half a dozen committees at least that are building up evidence in a case. It's just that Intelligence and Judiciary are at the forefront, and Judiciary has been greenlit because Judiciary is where the articles of impeachment must originate.
Okay.
Judiciary is one of the oldest committees in Congress.
Call me crazy, call me a wuss all you want. I'm still in the same boat as I was last time we spoke on this podcast, Mark. That I feel like this is just a waste of time because we are less than a year from an election, and all this is doing is tuning everybody out in the middle. And I think people are going to make this is going to make Trump a martyr, and he'll win the election in 2020. That's how I feel. Sorry. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, and this is the duty of Jerry Nadler, Adam Schiff, the minority leadership in the Senate, and Nancy Pelosi to illustrate. But this is bigger than all that. This is bigger than the nuisance of the argument or the politics. And this is what the 3 of the 4 constitutional law professors were testifying to before House Judiciary yesterday, is that if the conduct that the president has engaged in terms of you can call it the ABCs of his impeachment. A is abuse of power, B is bribery, and C is corruption. When he says he wants to ask President Zelensky of Ukraine for a favor, it's no different than, for example, like in a position where like workplace sexual harassment happens between a subordinate and a superior employees, where the person in the elevated position there's an imbalance of power that puts the person in the subordinate position in a place where they have to conform to whatever they're being asked, or they feel pressured. That's just a given. It exists throughout the law in a variety of ways. And if the one illustration that was made that was really, really succinct is, well, 2. Number 1, this is textbook what the impeachment clause in the Constitution, Article 2, Section 4, I believe, of the Constitution is all about. This is specifically what it was intended for, was a president who abused his power to invite or allow foreign interference in our free and fair elections. That's number 1. And number 2, if you don't impeach for this, there is nothing for which the president can be impeached. And you are saying to the ages and to any future president that it is perfectly fair game to use the office of the presidency to pursue personal, political, domestic ends. This is bigger than just Trump, the election, Chuck and Nancy, Fox versus MSNBC. This completely rewrites the Constitution and fundamentally transforms how our democracy functions. That's why it matters.
I get what you're saying. I do get it. I actually agree with what you're saying. I'm just telling you that
But 95% of people in this country don't
And that's
give a
the
shit.
thing. And they're
making them
fucking tired of
or
hearing about this
understand.
shit.
Yeah, like I can scream that until I'm blue in the face at my beautiful, loving girlfriend. She could not give two fucks. Like the news comes on, and I tell her, I'm like, "Hey, this segment is really important. You should listen." Like I try to be nice about it. I don't force her to have conversations she doesn't want to have, or like watch shit she doesn't want to watch. But every once in a while, I'm like,
Mark,
you need to pay attention
I
to this.
think
It's
the
really
larger
important.
point
The country's
is,
like
I
changing
don't
around
see
you.
many people changing their changing who they are, changing their decision on this now. I think people who like Trump or hate Trump are locked into positions. That's it. You'll get a small percentage of people, maybe it's on the fence, but the majority of folks are locked in tooth and nail.
This is ultimately what's going to define it. Is the case that's made in the Senate is going to do 0, 1, or 2 things. Like the inevitability of the president being impeached in the House is a given. Because here's the thing. The argument against impeachment, you got to understand this. Here's the thing, too, that you really need to understand. The president is, only the president is professing to be innocent of the crimes for which he is accused. Every single person around him, secondary, tangential to him, House, Senate, what have you, surrogates, what have you, have at no point attempted to argue the facts, because they can't. The evidence is irrefutable. The president did these things. He told us he did it. His chief of staff said, get over it. Like, we know that it happened. There's no disputing that. However, the Republican argument against impeachment keeps changing into different process arguments. And the latest iteration of it is saying, well, this whole process is moving too fast. You don't have enough evidence. Okay, turn over these 500 documents that we've subpoenaed and let us question these 6 other people or 13 other people that we've subpoenaed and that you've refused to let come forward. Fuck yourself. Okay, well, we're going to vote on impeachment then without you.
Well,
but that's basically what's been happening in Washington for the last, 6 months. The president says this isn't fair, this isn't free, this isn't right, this isn't due process. Well, your documents were you're impeaching me with no evidence. Well, we subpoenaed the documents to get the evidence, which is the property of the American people, not Donald J. Trump. We subpoenaed the people connected to it who are in public paid positions, paid by the people, the American people again. And on both counts, you said in no way, shape, or form will you cooperate. And different than the 3 other presidents who were, or 2.5, who were impeached or almost impeached, all 3 of them complied with congressional subpoenas, except for Nixon. And that was one of the articles of his impending impeachment that led him to resign, was obstruction of Congress. And that will be inevitably one of the articles of impeachment for President Trump.
I guess the only thing I say, really, right?
But that's the thing, is that you can't say they're not following the rules and that they don't have evidence, because it's like when they try to seek the evidence, which is the property of the American people in the first fucking place, you tell them to kick rocks.
The only positive about this, though, is
what are you hiding,
The only positive about this, really, one thing else is this puts it, because the House will impeach him. It's the Senate that will overturn.
So that's where I was going. One of 3 things, so 0, 1, or 2 things will happen. Either it'll all be for naught, the Democrats will look stupid, and Donald Trump will get reelected on the back of impeachment. That's option 1, and obviously the worst case meltdown scenario for most true blue Democrats. Or, he'll get acquitted in the Senate, look like shit, make America look terrible, and it'll cost him the election because it'll activate the 42% of the electorate that didn't participate in the last election. Or, God forbid, enough senators come around, they convict the president and remove him from office, and Mike Pence rides out the rest of the term.
Assuming that happens.
I mean, that's the three outcomes. It's like, that's it. That's all there is. So one of those three things is going to happen, and which one of those three it is going to depend largely on the argument that the Democrats make and how well they rally the people to give it.
Well, like I said, the only positive thing will be right,
while not losing sight of the larger policy discussions that need to be had in the lead up to an
well, like I said, the only positive thing for Democrats is to put it into the hands of Republicans. If there's evidence they still don't want to impeach, then it makes them look really bad. That's the only positive I see there.
Yeah. And, you hope that all the things that get said on background in the halls of Congress that all these Republicans refuse to let you publish, that everybody says openly but not openly, is that they finally come around and somebody gains a backbone and they stop being afraid of the, 28% of the population that has the GOP by the balls. And they grow a pair of their own and do the right thing and fulfill that, that oath they swore to the Constitution that they're bound to both as citizens and sworn to as elected members of Congress.
Okay. So we've now done 46. No.
Yeah,
I'm with you. We have done now 46 minutes of this podcast and not talk about the Lakers. So let's do it. 19-3.
Oh. The warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, they're way better than I thought.
Okay.
They need to be good, not just good.
They were literally just talking about this on LA radio today, that everyone is just like, if you would have told us 19-3 through the first, 22 games of the season, what? No, not that good. But no, Anthony Davis is a monster. He's doing everything he can do to win Defensive Player of the Year. Dwight's trying to win Sixth Man of the Year. LeBron's doing everything he can do to mess up Giannis's back-to-back MVP bid. Like, they're just lighting it up. And then you've got all these sort of unexpected little things happening where Kuzma hasn't really missed a step. And Danny Green's doing all his Danny Green things. And Rondo suddenly learned how to shoot.
Oh my God!
Who knew?
That too? Yeah.
But was already, well suited to play with LeBron and AD. And oh, by the way, his departure from New Orleans was a major factor in AD's unhappiness. So, there's already rhythm there. So all these different little things are happening, and Alex Caruso is just like a fucking grasshopper all over the court, just doing crazy shit, swatting things, dunking things, shooting things.
Hey, look, as long as you don't play Dallas in the playoffs, you're fine. I'm joking. I kid.
Low blow. I can't remember. Have they handled?
Well, they beat you. You guys won the first one. They got screwed.
Yeah, no. We just lost to Dallas the other night.
No. Well,
I'm trying to remember. I think we've beaten them once already. I think we played twice, and the Lakers won. Lakers won one of them. Yeah, because we beat them in overtime. We got that buzzer beater by Danny Green to tie the game, and we beat them in overtime.
Yeah, they got screwed.
In Dallas.
They got screwed in that game. They did. There was like 2 missed calls in that game. They just should have went the other way. They would have won the game for them.
No, they lost.
Don't do that. No, don't do that. No, but not.
Don't act like you're salty when your Miami Heat are going to fuck around and get a 5 seed.
I said 3 for the year started. I got caught. I told you I got cocky. I told you I got cocky at the beginning of the year.
Jimmy looks really at home in Pat's house, doesn't he?
Man. Poor man Kawhi.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I think getting Hassan out of town was probably a great thing both for Hassan and
I know
the
you
team.
and I joke around for years about Hassan, and he's so cool on Snapchat, but he was not a winning player. Bottom line.
No, it didn't work. It just didn't work. Miami was way too distracting for a kid that young and that talented and that paid. It wasn't a good fit. And I think his dwindling numbers and frustration on the court and a few losing seasons and then getting sent to Portland with Dame Lillard, who's like crazy intense, was maybe exactly what he needed. And so far, he's been playing his ass off, and Portland looks great.
I mean, look, it's only about quarter year in, way in the season. Do you feel like this is sustainable for the Lakers? Do you see another shoe dropping? Where are you on this right now? Be truthful. Be truthful.
Now. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same. Yeah, but from September until we go to a parade. If they're healthy, they're the best.
I still think,
as long as nobody gets hurt,
right
we're
now
fine.
It's between you guys and the Clippers. The Clippers have a different priority. They're not worried about. I told you this when you started. The reason why
I think the Clippers take the Lakers 6 or 7 games and ultimately get beat though. Same way, and for all the same reasons they get beat. Like if a 7-game series starts tomorrow, the Lakers beat the Clippers.
Here's my take on the Clippers right now and the Lakers. First off, the Lakers have been a lot better than I thought they'd be this year. Okay, the Clippers are right where I thought they'd be. Because as I said, they were never going to prioritize winning the number 1 seed because they are on that low management thing now. They're going to rest Kawhi. They're going to rest Paul George.
Yeah, and I can't remember if we talked about this on a pod or if this was a text exchange, but to expect that the team that is going to go into the playoffs chasing a trophy in April is not the team that came out of camp. Like, both the Lakers and the Clippers are probably going to undergo some changes. The way the Lakers look, unless they get hurt as fuck between now and the All-Star game, are probably going to stay more intact than I would have thought. You never know. But the Clippers, I think the Clippers got to make a couple of moves. I still think you could see Iggy come to the Lakers, and I think with what he's seeing from Memphis, he's got to be salivating at that opportunity, calling his agent every other day, going,
"When the fuck am I getting on that plane?" I think they're trying to get the best trade offer, and then if they can't get a trade offer, then they'll.
Yeah, I imagine there's some CBA reason that we can't quote.
No, but I think.
This. But I got to think that Iggy to the Lakers is a fairly foregone conclusion if the move is possible.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I don't know the finances on that,
but I don't really. I mean, again, as long as everybody stays healthy, I don't really see too many things stopping the Lakers from just building upon the platform they've laid. I don't worry
about LeBron though.
And I mean, short of trading for Giannis, you can have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for Giannis. Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Sure. We'll take that, but I can't logically think of some trade unless there's some like G League thing I haven't thought of that scores us a value piece that proves, necessary. But like the way things look, they're fucking great. They just need to learn how to play together better, manage turnovers, not overextend, come out strong in the third quarter. Like, it's effort things, it's chemistry things. It's not talent or effort. I mean, night in, night out effort things. It's just
in terms of health, right? In terms of health, I don't worry about LeBron whatsoever.
Yeah.
I worry about AD.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that, look, ultimately that rests upon the shoulders of the players. Like, are they going to adopt the LeBron and Kobe way of life in pursuit of a championship where they don't party, they don't smoke, they don't eat junk food, they don't do anything but, like, play Fortnite, get treated, hang out with their wife and kids, and eat very carefully curated food? Are you going to do that? Those kinds of things. Those are the things that are going to ultimately decide, I think, the Lakers season. It's going to be what happens in the practice facility, not what happens at Staples Center.
Deion Waiters and the gummies in the gum. He made his bed. Fuck him. He made his bed.
Oh, man. Yeah. I don't know. I just think he caught
he made his bed, though.
I've seen some people lose. Dude, edible. Okay, so here's the thing. Let me give a warning to all non-pothead potential visitors of California, Washington, Nevada, or Oregon. Colorado, too, for that matter. Be really, really, really careful with edibles. Number one, no amount of pot can kill you unless you have some, like, crazy 1 in a bazillion allergy. Like, there's not enough THC that can actually, like, do harm to you. You'll trip out. You'll have a panic attack. Like, just stay calm and drink some water and go to sleep, and eventually you won't be stoned anymore. You'll be fine. If you're call 911 or go to a doctor. You're either stupid or you're having a very serious medical emergency that, again, 1 in a billion. However, edibles are not to be fucked with. People think like, oh, I've always wanted to smoke pot, but it was never really my thing. I tried it once in high school and I didn't like it. I didn't even really get high the first time. So yeah, I was just like, oh, okay, I'll take a gummy or two. And then, fast forward 2 hours. I'm not high yet. Take 3 more. Now you're fucked. Because all of a sudden it's going to come on in a wave, and then fast forward 8 hours and you're just like, oh my God, I'm dying. Somebody help me. Oh my God. I just want to be sober. So be really, really careful with edibles because they hit differently. And if you're not a pothead, if you're not somebody who smokes a couple of times a week, like it's going to fuck with you in a way that you probably don't expect. And it's going to hit like a freight train if you don't start with like really small doses. Edibles are a different vibe than just like smoking a doobie under the bleachers in high school.
Well, like I said, your boy, Dion,
man,
yeah.
He fucked up. He fucked up, man. He went into MedMen in West Hollywood or something. Didn't know what he was getting. He was like, let his manager or something do the shopping for him, or his friend in the entourage, and he got some shit he wasn't ready for, and got sent home in the stratosphere.
I will say though, overall, it's been a really fascinating year thus far. I'm enjoying it, and
yeah. Okay, so you obviously get a whole different kind of coverage than what I get out here. Who are you seeing outside of Milwaukee as top 3 in the East? Because like Brooklyn, I guess we could pencil them in maybe next year if Kyrie doesn't blow them up. Boston looks
Miami
nice.
looks good.
Washington's a dumpster fire. Miami obviously is looking good. So who do you have sort of top 3, 4 in the East following behind Milwaukee? It's Milwaukee's to take or Toronto.
I mean, Toronto's a shock because not that they're good. I mean, I thought it'd be pretty decent, but Siakam take the next step.
I'm going to use the O word, but they only lost Kawhi. Like that was, I mean, really, their team did not fundamentally change otherwise.
The best player in the league, arguably.
That's why I said I prefaced it, but I'm going to use the O word.
Siakam took the next step. Siakam, right now, if I told you name top 10 players, the best players in the league right now, through 20-something games this year, Siakam is probably in the top 10 right now.
Yeah, something changed in that man last year.
And changed again this year.
Something changed in that man last year. His approach, like obviously I didn't follow him closely the previous year, but I mean you saw enough of Toronto getting into the playoffs, and then I can read, what happened between 17 and last year, or between the 17-18 season and then last season was insane in and of itself. And then to see the how he's taken it again to the next level and is emerging as like a legitimate superstar.
It's
so
incredible.
Cool.
And I mean, so obviously
it's a
if you go
story.
top 4 in the East, I mean it's hard because like Philly and Milwaukee obviously in the end you think will make it, and then you got Toronto's hanging around, Miami's hanging around, and then Boston's been impressive this year. So the East better than
okay, so it's Philly and Milwaukee,
and
then
Mark also when Oladipo returns to Indiana, they're gonna be a problem in the East.
When is he due back? Because I mean they were looking great prior to his
still hanging
injury.
around, and they are. If he's should be back within a month, so that's gonna be a problem too.
But and then so I mean really
16.
You're talking about the Lakers, the Trailblazers, the Mavericks, the Clippers, Bucks, Sixers.
Mark, it's actually
Heat,
safe
Celtics.
to say that outside the Lakers, Clippers, the top 6 teams in the East are better than the top 6 teams in the West. Yes,
Interesting. Although that was we kind of talked about that over the summer too. That like with so much transition, the dominance of the West was going to be diminished, and especially when you think about like how many guys were sitting to start the season.
That too, because remember, we didn't think Toronto would be this good. Now we didn't think Miami would be this good. We didn't think Boston would be this good, and they all took leaps.
It's true. Yeah, But also, you're looking at an NBA with no Klay Thompson, no Kevin Durant, no Steph Curry.
And, you add Durant next year.
Like
you add Durant next year to Brooklyn.
landscape.
That's another team in the Eastern Conference that picks up now. There's a seventh team in the East now.
Well, if the flat earther doesn't ruin the locker room
God.
between now and next season.
That's a major.
That's a whole other pod that you and I got to be like a week of homework
pod.
on before we even. Like, that is a whole episode.
I have even
Kyrie, what even is life?
Every Net fan I talked to was on pins and needles about Kyrie. They appreciate his talent, but they're worried about the other stuff. I get it. I totally get it. So.
Yeah, I would have only wanted him going to a team, unfortunately, or something, like the Lakers, where he would have been so insulated between like Boogie, Rondo, LeBron, and AD, where it'd be like, boy, better shut your mouth.
And one more thing.
One more thing.
Dude, Dallas Mavericks, top 3 league pass team for me to watch. Luka Doncic, fucking incredible. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, I've got a really close friend. Shout out to my boy Kyle, he has been on the Doncic train since he got drafted. Like, he has just, like, that is his man. Like, he's a Laker fan, or he was a Thunder fan, and I think he's a Laker fan now. But he just loves him some Doncic. So that's all I fucking hear about the last year and a half is this kid, and he is absolutely worth every word of it. He's so sick.
Did you watch Sunday's game against Lakers? I mean, I texted you in the game.
Filthy. Oh yeah, no, I watched the game. What I could stand. And I watched most of the one in Dallas. Like, they're gonna be awesome to watch, and I really hope they meet up in the playoffs because I think that'll make for a really cool series.
Anyway, Mark, a pleasure. It was great. 1 hour.
Dude, that was a blast.
As always.
That was a good one. 1 hour on the button every time. Nice
definitely, man. And we'll talk, I guess, maybe around the holiday, maybe around Christmas time, or?
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting couple of weeks. I think they're going to try to get the impeachment vote in here before the holiday break, and then we'll likely see the trial in the first quarter.
Trial during the election season. That's insane. Not even Clinton got that.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're down one senator so far from the one juror so far from the election, and if Cory Booker doesn't raise a lot of money between now and like next week, he's not going to be in it either.
I mean, I imagine it's a 3-man.
So that only leaves Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, and frankly, them being jurors on Trump's impeachment probably helps them on the trail anyway.
Well, we'll see what happens. It's going to be a crazy next year.
Yeah, the holiday season is going to be a wild roller coaster for Washington. Be a bumpy ride through the Beltway next month.
Anyway, Mark, we'll talk soon.
Yeah,
Great job as always. And if I don't talk to you on this podcast before the Christmas time, Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year.
No, you got it all. Even Hanukkah.
No, I don't
even my
so.
wife, Hanukkah. Being Jewish, Hanukkah. You got it.
No, see, there you go.
All right, buddy. You took it easy, all right? All right, buddy. Be good.
Thanks a lot. Have a great night.
All right. Bye.
You as well. Thank you.